Let's start with the big story of the day, which is what's going on in China. And right now, missiles fired at Taiwan, Taiwan launching flares in response. And we've got a lot to talk about as it relates to what's unfolding right now in China. So here are warplanes launching, taking off, launching drills, live fire missile drills over the Taiwan Strait. You can see live video here, not live video. This is just from this afternoon. A number of sorties being flown over the median line in Taiwan, in the Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan, or China, I'm sorry, has said, okay, the exercises have begun. So they are still calling them exercises, but they had flown closer to Taiwanese border than ever before, in some cases as close as 12 kilometers, as well as they have been doing live fire drills and setting off explosives in the sea nearby.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the sound from, these are live fire drills. These are actual missile launches that have been captured from multiple angles over the past few hours. Take a look at this.
Okay, so that is a big reaction, right? We were wondering what would happen. Again, this is all in response to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi coming to Taiwan at what's the opposite of the behest, against the wishes of China.
More than 100 Chinese warplanes, including bombers, fighter jets, launched assault and reconnaissance missions. More than 10 destroyer missions also showed up and running missions. We had video earlier today, too, and you see remarkable. You can see the surrounding of Taiwan at this hour. Look at the launching of helicopters and cross Taiwan Strait military drills. And it was remarkable to see video, too, of fishermen who were out in the Taiwan Strait, seeing live fire drills hitting the water right nearby. Some reports from reporters in the area saying that those Taiwanese fishermen turning their boats around and heading back to port. This would not be an area I would want to be out right now and fishing. Let me just say that. Let me go on the record
but the
and say
Chinese
that.
government has also warned that this will delay shipments as well, because any kind of cargo ships in that area were warned to hold up for the next, I think they said 5 days. And they were warned that delays of any goods and services coming in and out of those areas will just have to wait, because, and I wrote in the newsletter this morning, is this a throat clearing while they sort of cool off because they're pissed off, and then that will be the end of it? We should all be so lucky, right? We don't know how much more is going to come of this. And we've talked at length of the sanctions that are also coming from both sides.
Well, and we're also hearing this afternoon, or over the past few hours, Russia, of course, throwing their support behind Xi Jinping, saying that if they go to war over Taiwan, they will be there to support China, and that China, they expect, then would help them in the war in Ukraine. This is a, mutual. This is the support that Russia is showing China in this effort. So does the United States want to continue to provoke this connection right now? I don't think so. Probably not the case. The Chinese government also saying we have, if you look, let me just pull back a second. Kinmen County. We showed you this video last night. Kinmen County. This is a map and these islands here. So as I zoom in here on the Kinmen Islands, Kinmen County, which holds the islands there in this region, this is the area that's under, of course, intense pressure right now, where a lot of these missiles have been fired over. And of course, in Ximen, there are a number of amphibious assault vehicles lined up. So this is the main focus. These particular islands right here, this is where all the focus is right now, as tensions are running very, very hot. So we asked the question last night, and I think to provide deeper context on this, what was the purpose of Nancy Pelosi's visit there? Why did she go there? What did she hope to accomplish? Even today, you had Kevin McCarthy, the Republican, the lead Republican in the House of Representatives, in an interview on Fox and Friends this morning saying, I support her. I support her going to China. I just wish that she would have brought some Republicans with her. But other than that, that's my only complaint.
Because they want to grandstand on this tough on China policy, right? So, okay, they wanted a photo op too. That's how everyone feels on Instagram when someone goes somewhere cool, you guys.
That's right. So over on Li Jingling's, I'm going to say this wrong. Over on Li Jingjing's YouTube channel this afternoon, she had on a guest, Zhong Jianzhu. I hope I'm saying that right. Forgive me, please, if I'm saying that right.
We're Westerners.
People butcher my name all the time, but I'm hoping I'm saying this correctly. And I think his assessment on talking about specifically about Taiwan is the best take that I've heard so far on why Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan and looking at U.S. hegemony in this relationship. So let's listen to Zhong Jianzhu on this podcast this afternoon. Listen.
The first country to ever attack Taiwan with a warship was the U.S. in 1867. And the country that supported Japan in invading Taiwan during the Mudan incident was the United States in 1874. The country that sold weapons to Japan during the First Sino-Japanese War, leading to China's defeat, forcing China to cede Taiwan to Japan, was the U.S. from 1894 to 1895. The country that actively pushes for Japanese containment of China and Taiwanese containment of mainland China is the United States, from the 19th century until today. So can we really say that the United States is our friend? I mean, we're being used to serve U.S. imperialist interests. These recent events show us that so-called Taiwan separatism is not true independence, but it further embroils Taiwan into serving U.S. imperialist interests. True independence means independence from this sort of hegemonic, unequal relationship where you don't even have dignity as a human being. And I think this sort of independence can only be achieved through peaceful reunification with the rest of China.
Peaceful reunification with the rest of China. I mean, how many people know that history?
No, I didn't. And also know that there even is a facet of people inside Taiwan who do actually support this, right? That's not what we're told as Westerners. And given that I can't read any Asian language at all, how would I know this, right? We're told that Taiwan is only under the thumb of China and absolutely wants autonomy.
It's the same thing with Russia. Like, nobody wants a history education. Nobody wants to go read anything or watch anything. Like, I tried sharing videos. Like, you can establish what has happened over the last 14 years with Russia and Ukraine, but people only listen to what they're hearing right now. They don't want a lesson. They don't want to go. There's no nuance. They don't care about that. And that's dangerous because that's what allows our foreign policy to move forward the way it does.
Yes. And also, hi, David. We didn't introduce you into the show. That's our producer, David, who's very passionate. Thank you for joining in.
So let's move on and let's talk more about China. So I have, some more insight, I think, into why Nancy Pelosi was visiting Taiwan. And we just learned this afternoon, that Nancy Pelosi, while she was there for less than 24 hours. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it still didn't stop her from meeting with chip industry leaders in Taipei, Taiwan Semiconductor.
Just weeks after Congress passed the $280 billion Chips and Science Act that includes $52 billion in subsidies for companies to build and expand chip manufacturers, many of which are made in Asia, Taiwan and China as well. So interesting, right, that she would do this. And of course, very interesting that we know that she and her husband made a large investment in NVIDIA just months before, as this legislation was on the floor.
And Apple. And so all of these companies are tied to Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yes.
Right. So again, all of the companies you're investing in that are computer related, when Nancy Pelosi gets on the phone and calls Tim Cook at Apple, when she has a conversation with Sundar Pichai at Google, when you're talking about Silicon Valley and you're talking about these semiconductors that are coming out of Taiwan, it's all together, right? And then your husband goes and makes a very large investment.
Sure.
I mean, and you, in 24 hours, managed to go and potentially start World War III and check on your investment strategy while you're there.
Right.
No wonder you didn't bring Republicans with you.
I mean, but if this is an attempt to harm China's semiconductor industry that's just.
So right now, the American manufacturing, they just passed the American Chips Act, right? That passed last week.
Yes.
The United States did. It provides $52 billion in support for chip companies that invest in the United States. Okay.
Yes.
So it's aimed at rebuilding the country's chip-making capabilities. It also includes restrictions on investment in China for companies that receive U.S. subsidies. So, okay for TSMC and the Pelosi family to make money off of this on a $52 billion congressional act that is... When she was asked about this the other day, by the way, did you tell your husband at all about this $52 billion investment in semiconductors? She grabs the microphone and she pushes it and she's like, no. Really? Not over dinner? You didn't have any discussion? He just went and made this willy-nilly investment in semiconductors with no discussion with the Speaker of the House?
Okay, I don't know. Like, sometimes some couples don't share those kind of things, but if
you give for the benefit of the doubt.
I know, and I know that
try
the
to
chat
find the
room
silver lining on
hates
anything
when I do this.
Like, well, Hitler. I mean, come on, he was a good painter.
Okay, but we're not gonna extrapolate that far, right? Some couples don't talk about these types of things, but you would think because she has to be extra careful with transparency and optics that this would be something that maybe. I don't know. Is it worth it? It depends on financially. It seems that it was.
All too convenient, though.
Yes.
You don't even announce on your public itinerary that you're flying to Taiwan. It's kept off of your House Speaker itinerary. So you're
Yes.
lying to the press. Like, where are we going? Here are the places we're going. We're going to Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. We're leaving this specific territory off of the list, Taiwan. We just passed a $52 billion wet kiss for the tech industry, right? Because they need a lot of help right now. They're really struggling, by the way. The tech industry is really, really hurting. And then you fly in, and you have less than 24 hours on this island. You manage to meet with chip manufacturers.
But look at what these sanctions that prevent U.S. investment backed by China on hardware have done to the solar panel industry, basically brought it to a screeching halt in the United States because the United States was heavily reliant on China for obtaining those solar panels. And now even Congress admits that investors continued to obtain solar panels from China, but just went around through, I think it was South Korea instead. And so then putting a higher carbon footprint on each solar panel, right? Mm-hmm. And investors found a workaround because so much technology comes from China. We cannot compete.
It's the solar panel reach around.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
it's a latest craze.
Meanwhile, we learned from Lever News today, David Sirota over at Lever News in reporting, saying that Chuck Schumer's family, so it's not just Nancy Pelosi, and maybe wonder why Democrats just went on this. Chuck Schumer's family and former Wall Street and tech corporations that have legislative business in front of the Senate right now. The world's largest private equity firm just hired his son-in-law as a lobbyist. So these tech companies that have these legislation, so they get to make money off of this. Mm-hmm. It's such a cozy relationship.
Yes, and it turns out a lot of those companies connected to his son-in-law are his biggest donors as well. I mean, this is... Stop me if you've heard this one before, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to stop you from it.
Stop me.
Those are Democrats, though. They represent the people, so it's a little different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, I don't know if you've gotten word on this. No, literally, the Democratic Party now is officially the war party.
Yes.
Like, how did that happen? Let me take a step back on this. Like, Democrats were supposed to be the party of peace. Like, how dare you, George W. Bush, for getting us involved in a forever war?
Yes.
Right? No, that ship has sailed.
Yes.
Like, that shoe is now on the other foot. That cookie has crumbled.
Uh-huh. That is not a nice mattress to lay.
You can't. Can you think of another idiom? Is it an idiom? Metaphor? Yes. They buttered their bread now. Can you guys in the chat room? Can you guys come up with any more? Yeah. So Nancy Pelosi meeting with semiconductor companies while in Taiwan. We learned that today. The Kingman County and the Kingman Islands surrounded, Taiwan surrounded, live fire drills continuing, going to be continuing for the next few days. And where does this lead? Does this lead then to an invasion of the Kinmen Islands, as we pointed out earlier? Does it lead to that first step? Because it's right there. I mean, I think it's within 20 miles or so of the coast of China, of mainland China, a very easy show of force. And then on top of that, you have Russia and Vladimir Putin throwing their support behind China, saying, if you go to war over Taiwan, we're there for you. So now we've managed to really solidify this relationship in just a matter of days. If it wasn't already done.
It does feel very much like taking a Sharpie to the globe and just making circles of like, it is now these companies or countries against these. Whether you wanted it or you feel that way or not, that's what global leaders are choosing on our behalf.
Yeah.